Okay guys, welcome back. A really unique product to test today. There's been a real theme in the industry over the last probably six months, 12 months of integrating materials.
Yep.
We have seen that in heads a lot, obviously over the last few years, since TaylorMade especially, not they weren't first to do it, but TaylorMade had came with M1, M2,
Yep.
so on and so forth. Now we're starting to see it in shafts.
This is definitely sort of more interesting, I think, than when the sort of the bi-matrix kind of deal was there, when it was literally just half and half.
Good point. Yeah, the bi-matrix.
So this is obviously graphite and steel, but I'm kind of surprised at the way they've literally worded it graphite on steel.
Yeah.
So it's basically
the
G.O.S.T. So it's made of steel on the interior.
Yep.
And then the exterior of it, I guess, wrapped in what looks like a normal graphite shaft.
So if you look at shafts that are trying to achieve what steel achieves,
right,
the one thing you always see is a significant increase in the wall thickness.
Right.
So when you increase the wall thickness, sometimes you can lose a little bit of feel.
Okay.
So by going too thick, you kind of deaden the shaft a little bit.
Right.
So by keeping the traditional feel of steel, which this has, with the sort of vibration dampening and sort of benefits of graphite, I mean, I know it's cheesy to say, but you do get the best of both
That's
worlds.
literally what they've kind of put in their literature. Is it's
Yeah.
supposed to be sort of what you like about steel is that it's stable, consistent,
Yeah.
and then you like graphite because it feels better and it's soft. Yeah. So they're just hybrids so far. Am I right? Or they're going to do a whole line of irons too?
I'm sure this is going to be in development for irons. I'm
Okay.
absolutely positive of that, especially being based off of such a popular shaft as the Modus 105.
Right.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that come some point in 2020.
Gotcha. So we're going to give it a swing in an M6 hybrid.
In your one, yeah.
This is pretty heavy. That's the first thing I said to you. This particular stiffest version is about 112 grams.
112 on that one. That's the Tour X. The standard X comes in at 102.
Still pretty heavy, I guess.
Still pretty heavy, yeah. I mean, if we consider most players' hybrids to be 95 to 105, maybe even 85 to 105.
Yeah.
This is kind of
there.
leaping on again into the next weight category. But we talk about all the time, in terms of the hybrid shaft that players use, better players, faster swing speeds. This might be more suitable.
Well, and then I think that's why so many people, we get tons of comments saying, like, I still like using steel. Does anyone use steel in like a driving iron? And you pretty much said no, because you look at on tour, they're all using graphite to some degree. But I think it's because something that feels like steel to them would be so heavy, like a dynamic gold's like 135 grams at that weight. So this might be kind of that thing that allows someone to sort of dabble with steel still in a hybrid or a driving iron.
Or the horse is bolted on this one a little bit, because I see this as something that we're going to see a lot of.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. We are. We think that, and we know that.
We know that from some other companies that are developing it, I guess.
Yeah. There's some real sort of interest in integrating graphite and steel together in different ways.
I mean, it makes sense.
It makes a ton of sense. Yeah. The only thing that's probably surprising is it's taken this long to do it. It's probably one of those when steel fiber and some other kind of graphite shafts came onto the market, maybe the best part of 10, 15 years ago, I think people thought that we might be a little further along by now.
Okay.
With regards
Makes
to
sense, yeah. It's been a while.
The utilization of graphite in irons. But I think mixing material might have been the missing ingredient to that.
That's a good point, yeah.
So how much metal to infuse with the graphite and what that mix would be. So it's a bit of a science experiment that I'm sure at some point they'll get the formula right.
Well, let's see what this one is like as kind of the
I'm curious
first one we've got in our
to
hands.
hear what you think. And it's super uncommon. No one's hitting a steel shaft in a hybrid, really. I mean, if you
look around, no one's got a steel shaft that we can think of. You'd be less than 1% of the population, golfing population, are using a steel shaft. And that's on tour as well. Like it's
Absolutely.
Gary Woodland and I don't know who else. That's about it.
Very, very few.
In a driving iron, right?
Very few. So be interesting to see.
Tell you what, it feels pretty damn good.
It sounds awesome.
It's a little thin, but pretty good. I feel like it's helping me not hit that stinky drop kick that I often hit with my hybrid.
Is there something to this where you're able to feel the weight, so it feels like you're hitting an iron, and maybe there's a little more downward going on? And
it must be. So it feels, it has a feel like steel has. I don't really know what that means in terms of like verbalizing it. There's just something about it that reminds me of an iron.
It's the feedback through your hands, and you know, there's a weight, there's a balance that steel has that graphite doesn't. There's no doubt about that.
So that must be what I'm sensing. Yeah.
Acoustically, it's different though. It
does seem like it. Yeah. What do you think? Quieter?
Quieter. Yeah. Very, very quiet.
Because the M6 does have sort of a high pitched sort of pinging sound normally, and it sounds a little more sort of like a thud, like a deadened strike.
Comes.
It's not what I expected in that I kind of felt like I was going to be over here working my ass off.
Yeah, I think you did think that, didn't you, with the amount of weight?
Yeah, I just kind of felt like I was going to have to really push myself to load it, but it doesn't really seem like that. One
thing I will say though, it doesn't seem like it has any capability to help you gain speed.
I would agree with that.
I mean, that's way slower than I'm kind of used to seeing your ball speed with hybrid. Like when we played our match at Quail Hollow, there was a couple of times you hit hybrid and your ball speed was like 161, 162. This appears to be quite a lot slower than that.
So do you think that that's a factor of this being the heaviest one, or the heaviest, stiffest one for a player that probably swings really fast and wants to regulate distance?
Yeah, for sure. Somebody who doesn't want that kind of feel jumper. Like you can. I don't think it's the shaft that produces a flyer, but maybe the weight, the balance allows you to maybe all of a sudden gain a little bit of speed because you can manage the shaft in that sense.
It's a good point. I think if there's one thing I would not complain about, like if I was to use the hybrid a lot into a green, not that I do, but if I did, I don't really know how far it's going to go. Even when you were setting this up, you said like how far, and I was like, I don't know, 250-ish.
Just popped into my mind right now. I think this is going to be a phenomenal utility iron shaft.
Good point.
Seeing something like that new, you know, the U500, the 510, P790, UDI, things like that, in those is going to be phenomenal.
Can we pop this into one after?
Yeah, we can.
Might as well hit a couple in. Yeah, it's consistent. That was thin, but I've kind of not been offline by much with any of them.
That looked nice. Fractionally thin?
Yep. I kind of prefer that, to be honest.
That looked like it was well hit.
Higher in the face for sure.
Yeah.
Different. Sounded quite a bit different. I think that's the best one I've caught so far. It felt like it was more in the center. Less thin.
Yeah, really good. What's very interesting for me here is your feedback is, the feedback the club has given you is bang on point. So there's been a couple of shots you went, I hit it high. I really hit that one good. And when it shows up on here, you're validating that.
Interesting. So you think that the steel core still lets you kind of know where you've struck it, but then the graphite doesn't make it feel...
It would appear that could be a benefit, the feedback and where you strike it. I mean, there's a real kind of wide selection of shots. Not one of those from 250, 260 yards is doing anything to get you in any trouble.
Not the least bit.
Not in the least.
You take every single one of those for sure.
Every single one. The most you've hit it offline, you've hit it a little down the left side a couple of times.
20. Yeah, so 60 feet. So if you
60 feet,
a big green, you might still catch, or you're chipping on a par 5. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. To be fair, it doesn't really happen very often where we take, 10 shots, and just go. They're all pretty much fine.
Really good. Very, very nice.
It's very consistent.
Okay, so as we thought this, or as we still think this might be a real good option as a utility iron shaft option. I think people are still a little bit confused about what weight to use if they go down the iron route. Do they use an iron? Do they use a graphite shaft, a steel or graphite. So this might be a real popular one.
It might literally be kind of made for this, isn't it?
Yep. Good swing there. Look at that thing.
That's all right, eh? What? Did you move? I'm hitting it further.
Yeah, I think I moved it forward to 250, but
still.
What's a strike that was?
Jeez. That felt nice. Tend to agree with your guess here. It is nice in a driving iron.
Is it feeling quite well balanced, Matty?
It really does, yeah.
This is pretty cool to see. I mean, already we're seeing two clubs at the exact same loft are doing very differently down to the sort of geometry of the head. CG being further forward, face being taller. Obviously not going to produce the same ball speed. It's not designed to produce the same. But very unique launch conditions, so it's coming out to about the same result. It just does it in a slightly different fashion.
This could be a driving iron versus hybrid video of itself. That's basically exactly what you're looking at.
Really, really good. Now, obviously, it might not be the right question. I should have probably asked you before we introduced this as a good option for the iron, but do you feel like that shaft's more suited to the iron or the hybrid?
For me personally, I would be happy with it in both, but I don't think you'll find that many people that want it in a hybrid.
I agree with that.
I think you'll find a lot of people that like exactly how this is in a driving iron. I would be surprised if this wasn't probably your top driving iron shaft after the next year.
I think so.
It just makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It really does. Like it feels, I think, the way that you want, and you'll get the guy that's kind of on the fence about going utility iron.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want a graphite shafted iron. Like it doesn't feel right to me. This will feel like steel does.
So you and I both use Modus 120. You use TX 126. I use X 120.
Yep.
I could put those in my long irons today.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would 100% put that in like my 4.
Yeah.
My 4 and maybe a driving.
That's interesting, isn't it? I never really thought, to be honest, this review was going to go down that route.
No, you're right.
Just sometimes these things, they kind of manifest themselves just with kind of what you see. But
it's made for it.
Did you get much of a difference in the feel? Did the vibration dampening? Did it feel like every shot was hit kind of fairly solid?
I hate to say that it feels like graphite and steel put together, but it's exactly what it feels like. It reminds me of my iron shaft, but when I've ever tried, not that it's been a long time, but anytime I'd ever hit a steel in a hybrid or a long iron, it was just too much. It was too heavy, kind of too like lacking in feel, I guess.
Well, I haven't hit that yet, and I'm already sort of thinking in my mind that it's probably going to feel like steel to swing, probably going to feel like graphite to hit.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, so the feedback, the impact feedback you get is probably, and just even the acoustics that come from it, that to me is more reminiscent of a graphite.
Yes.
But obviously when you swing it and you feel the heft of it, that's going to be more reminiscent of steel.
I think it's kind of graphite with no downside. That's what I'm kind of getting from it. There's really no weakness to this. It's got the feel, it's got the feedback from strike that you want, and it's just less of a burden to swing something like that.
Well, I mean, we were doing this review thinking cool new product. I wasn't really thinking we're doing this and we could be looking at a game changer.
I agree. Yeah, it's absolutely it's more interesting in practice than I actually think it was on paper.
Me too. And I think it's great, but it has more value to me conceptually now than it had before. Okay, I think a lot of you will be interested in this. I really do. I think if you've stayed the course and you've seen the video till the end, I hope you have, and you'll probably guessed by our sort of reaction here that there's really something going on here.
There's something going on here for sure.
So I think it's definitely next year when you guys are going out to try different products, you're probably going to want to add this one to the mix.
Oh, 100%. It doesn't hurt that it looks really good. I think
it looks incredible.
It's an extremely good looking product. I think anything you put this in, because it's just kind of a flat black, it's very simple with the design. It's not the most important thing, but you're obviously going to put some money into it if you bought it, so it's nice that it looks
really
very
premium,
classic.
Doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Really premium. Great stuff.
Goodie,
okay, guys, I don't think you've seen the last of us testing with this. I think there's probably more to come here. It'll be interesting to take some different types of golfers throughout the winter through testing with this and see who the target market is. You are the target market. I would be the target market. How far down that line with reduction of speed can we go? So it'll be very interesting to see.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, stay tuned for more of that, and we'll see you again soon.